We'll go to item 10, conduct of business. The first item is A, adopt a resolution approving changes to various existing parking restriction zones. Are we having some issues with our visuals? There we go.
Honorable Mayor and members of the Council, utilizing the pre-established criteria set forth in the approved policy, the Department present preliminary recommendation for 4 requests for new or modified parking restriction zones to the Traffic Safety and Parking Committee in 3 separate TSPC meetings. The following presentation is each of the TSPC recommendation for City Council's consideration. The first item for Council's consideration is the request to remove existing red curb on southbound Mills Avenue, just north of San Bruno Avenue. The applicant is a local resident who wishes to increase residential parking on this portion of Mills Avenue. During evaluation, the department consulted with the fire department and verified that the existing 82-foot red curb is not a fire lane. The department also obtained concurrences from the adjacent property owner to modify the existing parking restriction. TSPC recommends Council's consideration to reduce the existing red curb from 82 feet to 30 feet. The proposed change will result in 2 additional on-street parking spaces on Mills Avenue. The second item for Council's consideration is a request to exclude Saturday from the existing 1-hour time-limited parking restriction in front of Mason Mettering Hospital at 805 Mason Avenue. The owner of the Mason Mettering Hospital initiated the request to help to increase on-street parking during non-business hour in the adjacent the effort to increase on-street parking in the adjacent neighborhood that has a long history of shortage of street parking. TSPC recommends Council's consideration to modify and apply the 1-hour time-limited restriction between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. The third item for Council's consideration is a request to install 2-hour time-limited parking immediately in front of Crest Dry Cleaners at 705 Genevan Avenue. The applicant is the owner of the dry cleaners. The original request was installation of a green zone with the intent to provide short-term parking for customers with quit and drop-offs and pickups. Based on the initial site observation, the usage of the adjacent on-street and private off-street parking, the department's preliminary recommendation to the TSPC was not in support of the request. However, after discussion with the applicant during the TSPC meeting, TSPC made a motion to recommend Council's consideration to extend the existing 2-hour time-limited parking on Genevan Avenue between El Camino and Linden Avenue to include the requested location. The intent was to provide additional parking for customers when off-street parking or on-street parking is occupied by delivery trucks for the mini-mart adjacent to the dry cleaners. The proposed change for the Council's consideration will result in loss of 2 unrestricted on-street parking spaces on Genevan Avenue. The fourth item for council's consideration is a request to install yellow zone between the two driveways to Lullaby Lane's warehouse at 1065 and 1069 San Mateo Avenue near the north city limits. The owner of the Lullaby Lane initiated the request to assist vendors' delivery trucks entering the warehouse. The delivery trucks to Lullaby Lane are typically in 50 feet in length and would be considered one of the larger ones used on this portion of San Mateo Avenue. Based on initial field review, the street curb-to-curb width at the requested location is approximately 41 feet, which is not sufficient for a 54-foot truck to turn into the warehouse when both sides of the street are occupied by parked cars. The option to use Montgomery Avenue to access the back of the warehouse is not feasible due to an even narrower street width of approximately 21 feet. TSBC recommends council's consideration to install yellow zone at the existing 40-foot curb in between the two driveways to Lullaby Lane, and to apply the restriction between hours of 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. on any day except for Sunday and holidays. The proposed change for council's consideration will assist large trucks to maneuver to Lullaby Lane's warehouse and help to alleviate double parking concern at the requested location. The proposed change will also result in loss of 2 unrestricted on-street parking spaces on San Mateo Avenue. This concludes the presentation.
Any questions from staff?
Through the chair.
Vice Mayor?
Specifically on items 3 and 4, going to the request number 3 first. Just so that I'm clear, and I went out to the 4 sites and I can understand 1 and 2. On the third one, are we talking about the 2-hour time limit on the business side only?
On the business side only, right in front of the 705 Genevan Avenue.
Okay, just in front of there, it doesn't go all the way to the, it's not just that one business, that's the only one spot?
Correct.
Okay, so it doesn't proceed further up the street.
Correct.
Going back and going on to item 4, between 1069 and 1071, I noticed there's a red zone. And I don't know if it's because of the turn radius for the trucks that you're indicating. I don't know if that's an additional spot that can be gained by eliminating some of the red zone that is currently there. That's just something that I noticed when I was there yesterday. And I don't know if that is considered, but I can understand the need for the yellow zone between the two businesses. But I was just trying to look for additional parking because there's quite a bit of red across the street. There's the red, I think it's Grumpy's, between that and Lullaby Lane, and I don't know if that's another space that maybe can be gained by what you're going to lose as permanent parking.
We can look into it. I'm not sure if I can visualize which red curb that you're referring to, but I recall there's a red curb it's accompanied with existing fire hydrant.
You're correct. There is a fire hydrant, but there's quite a bit of space. But yes, you're correct. You can visualize very well. And the only thing, going back just really quickly on item 3, there's, in going there, I noticed, and I did speak to anybody who was at the locations, there's also, once you see one thing, you're seeing another, whether it's a U-turn as they come off El Camino. And let's say they figure out they don't want to go all the way up Genevan, they make that U-turn right at Linden to get back to the L. I don't know if we ever want to consider a no U-turn sign there, just so it alerts motorists that is not okay. But that does happen, as it's been brought to my attention, so it's just something for thought.
Supposed to make a U-turn.
Any other questions of staff?
Through the chair?
Yeah. Michael?
Okay.
Michael.
Sure. Just to refresh my memory, are these four items among the group that was grandfathered in before that policy? So okay, so these are not going to be charged the application fee.
Yes.
It is correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Ibarra.
Okay, the easy one, on item 2 on the Masson Avenue, so is that just a sign change?
Just a sign change.
So, to eliminate Saturday, okay. We go to item 3, so the scenario is they requested a 15-minute zone, and through what objections you, staff recommended a 2-hour limit. So someone can park in front of the cleaners in front of Speedy Spot for up to 2 hours.
For the proposed change, the recommendation, but currently it's unrestricted, so anyone can park in front of the business for unlimited time.
I guess my question would be, has there been a problem with someone parking there longer than, or parking there that is not using the businesses or is not, frequenting the business, like a neighbor or something, or a business around the corner or something, or a resident around the corner? Has that been a problem?
That was the TSPC's assumption, and during the discussion at the TSPC meeting, also with the applicant, was arrived to the conclusion that will help the business at that location. It would be a more limited time parking at that location, that the turnover will be higher versus the existing unrestricted parking at that location.
Okay, so not knowing what was discussed at the meeting, where do you go from unlimited to a request of 15 to 2 hours? Was there any discussion about 30 minutes or an hour? Because it just seems that 2 hours, that could be a problem where, if you're going to put a sign up there that says 2-hour limited parking, well, someone can actually park there for 2 hours and I don't think that's what the businesses want.
It's also in the discussion with the police that to help the enforced route, currently that would be the north side of Genevan Avenue. That's currently a 2-hour limited parking. So without changing the existing patrol route, we would have decided it's 2 hours to keep it consistent. It wouldn't be an additional route, a different trip for the officer to come.
So for the first 2 blocks of Genevan, it's 2 hours on the north side.
And this for consistency purposes, instead of introducing another different time limited parking, this was only just a extension of the existing limited parking area with 1 block.
Okay, I think I can accept that as long as there's not an uproar from the business owners or something. San Mateo Avenue, I just think it's a bigger problem than just putting loading zones. I mean, and again, I know business owners out there, and I know the issues that are out there. And the only law they seem to obey is not parking in the red. Every other law they break. I've seen U-turns. I've seen parking on sidewalks. I've seen parking in limited time. I've seen parking, overnight and extended time. And it's just too much, I know, for the police to monitor. So I'm just, and I know the owner of Lullaby Lane is here. So, and I know what the consequence is that if you don't provide this, then they have no choice but to double park or do what they've been doing. How do you prevent someone from, what if the truck driver drives up there and there's cars parked in the yellow zone?
During our discussion, even at the TSPC, our police department raised the issue and their concern for enforcement, that they raised the concern that they will have limited capacity to enforce at this location, like on any other location, based on their limited resources, the yellow zone. But the intent of the TSPC was to help the situation, even if it will not necessarily be a perfect solution.
I'm all for improving the circulation there, but I would think that, I would hope, and I know the chief is here, that if we can probably find a time or find a time of year where we can crack down and just sort of get the message out that police has picked things up, and that, you know, that the business owners, and many of them are auto-related, and that they can know that they're being watched. Because I know there are some good businesses there, and there's some abusing businesses there that, and it's a constant battle, you know, day after day, year after year, and I know Mr. Gavers can appreciate that. So, thank you.
Yeah, I would only assume that if we get a little aggressive for a short period of time, the word's going to get out, because it's probably the same people over and over that are using those areas. So I'm all in favor of the 4 items. Mr. Rico?
Robert Rico, 7th Avenue. I would hope that you would support the request, at least on the, excuse me, San Mateo Avenue request, with the potential for the big build across the street in the next year or two from South San Francisco, and the concerns that have been voiced before. Parking is going to be a continual concern, and double parking is just something that messes up San Mateo Avenue too much. We need to keep our businesses in there. We maybe need to get in there before they start building and tweak some of these little nuances so that it's not after the fact. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Any action?
Through the chair, I'll introduce the resolution. Can we take them all at once or separately? I guess, yeah, the resolution is various existing parking. Okay. I'll introduce a resolution for the various existing parking restriction zones.
Councilmember Ibera.
Aye.
Councilmember Salazar.
Aye.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Medina.
Aye.
Mayor Ruane.
Aye.